Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where this evening we have a big body twin turbo V8 Porsche to play with. This is the 2025 Porsche Panamera GTS, the third generation, the 976. Believe it or not, we are now onto the Gen 3 of Panamera. This came out for 2024, but for 2025, we have some new trim levels. For example, what's right in front of us, this GTS, as well as a couple others, but this is the most enthusiast-oriented Panamera, and this is exciting for me because I've never actually lived with a Panamera. In fact, it was the last Porsche model to check off my list after finally being able to live with a Taycan a couple of weeks ago, as some of you saw. But prior to this, the only Panamera I've ever driven was a 970, a first gen. I think it was like a 2011 Panamera 4, and I just briefly drove it around in downtown Chicago. So it's been quite the treat to actually live with this new GTS for the past few days, and I'm excited to show you all what that's like in tonight's video as we commute this big V8 sedan to downtown Ann Arbor and show you what it's like to live with as well. So, you all know that I love Porsches. First thing I want to talk about is spec. Now, this is spec'd correctly, in my opinion. This is finished in Carmine Red, what I think is the only choice if you're going to go for a GTS, unless you do some crazy paint to sample thing, but this is the best standard color for sure. We also have these beautiful, no-cost option center lock wheels. Absolutely stunning, and we're sitting on a set of Continental Sport Contact 7s. These are a staggered setup, 275/30 ZR21 in the front, and in the back, a 325 section tire that I didn't memorize the rest of, 325/30 ZR21. The Panamera GTS in 2025, which I suppose is the current model year, but if you go on the website, it now prompts you to spec a 26. Well, anyway, when this car was built, base price was $154. This one as spec'd is $168 grand. I went on the configurator today, built this exact car, and it was $180,000. So prices have gone up a bit for 2026, as I suppose everything is these days. But anyway, let's not get bogged down about prices going up and just try to enjoy some V8 noises this evening. So let's go ahead and poke around this. I mean, it's a Panamera. What do you expect? It's a big sedan with lots of trunk space and a very cool active rear spoiler, which we'll show you once we get inside. I love that Porsche still uses the keys that look like a Porsche. Very much appreciated. And talk about practicality. I mean, this is only a 4-seater inside, but my oh my, do you have the boot space for many things. This is in a lift back configuration, as the Panamera has always been, and I think you could fit many golf club bags back here, and underneath them you could fit all of your balls, I suppose, or something else to put down in this additional cubby. Even though they don't give you a spare tire, you do get a goop kit and some extra room. But jokes aside, this is genuinely a very nice space back here. And what struck me the most, actually, is when I pulled up to the Topher's house to swap cars with him this week, just how massive this car is. But even though it is quite a bit bigger than the Taycan that we were driving, it is actually lighter. This weighs in at just under 4,700 pounds. So in the grand scheme of things, it isn't necessarily light, but in comparison to its electric sibling, it definitely is. And I'm just realizing now that we're a few minutes into this video and I haven't talked about the most important part of this car, and that is what's under the hood. I think as we talk about this today, we'll actually show you the beating heart of the beast. So under the hood of this Panamera GTS, and every Panamera GTS, is a 4-liter twin turbo V8 producing 493 horsepower and 486 pound-feet of torque. Now, right off the bat, that doesn't really sound like a very impressive number, especially in the year 2025 in a 4,700 pound car. But one thing about Porsche is they do often underrate their cars, and this is the quickest 493 horsepower I've ever felt. The launch control is shocking. I mean, Porsche claims this will do 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. I believe them. It feels like a 3-second flat time to me via my butt dyno. But anyway, this is essentially the same 4-liter twin-turbo V8 you get in every one of these Volkswagen Auto Group cars these days. The biggest difference is actually what's attached to this. So this doesn't have the ZF 8HP torque converter automatic. This has an 8-speed PDK, and of course it's all-wheel drive. If you're unfamiliar with PDK, somehow in the year 2025, that's just Porsche's way of saying dual clutch automatic transmission. They've had it around since I think 2009, and it's been getting better and better as time goes on. I think this engine bay is quite attractive. We've got some strut bracing, some heat resistant material for our twin turbos in there, and of course we have hood struts. Could you imagine the tragic nature of that if we didn't have hood struts? I think overall, the third gen Panamera is my second favorite looking of all of them. I think the 971, the second gen, was really the sweet spot for this platform. I never drove one, but just visually, I was such a big fan of that. I think the Gen 3 is a close second. This is still a pretty attractive car, and of course it just goes along with Porsche's corporate design language these days and kind of what they're doing with everything. Love the quad exhaust tips. I do like the strip taillight in the back in clear. Looks nice and proper on this GTS. So let's see how good this is at being an sedan. Let's check out the back seat, where this is biblically accurate Panamera stuff still. We have a 4-seater configuration, 2 seats in the back and a console in the middle. This has the special GTS interior package with Carmine Red stitching and Carmine Red seat belts. Very nice look, as well as race text everywhere. I mean, we'll jump in here in the back seat and you'll be able to get an idea of that. I'm touching race text as I pull the door shut. I'm sitting on race text. If I look above me, there's more race text. If I fold this down, it's leather, but we do have a little center console here, which I do like because I was a bit worried when I only saw these little fold-away cup holders, but we've got choices of what you want to have. These are funny. These also pop up if you have a cup that's a little bit taller. They only pop up by about an inch, but hey, sometimes an extra inch is all you need. Close those. We also have a screen back here, which I probably should have started the car, but it essentially just mimics the infotainment screen up there, and you can kind of tweak navigation and things, tell Jeeves where to go, and you can also tickle Jeeves through this little hole in the 18-way adaptive sport seat. Let's show you that now. It is hot. It's only like 83 out, but I'm sweating quite a bit today. Also, the doors, they're soft close, which is nice. That is a standard feature on the GTS. But also, they're the clever doors that can just stop anywhere. So you don't have to worry about dinging anybody or the door going flying, because also, see, I can hit this and it'll kind of stay in position. So that is appreciated. Light up door sill kick panel things. Panamera GTS, large script there, so your grandma can read it. And here are these 18-way adaptive sport seats. Porsche does a sport seat so well. If you don't want these sport seats, which really aren't all that aggressive, Porsche will sell you the 14-way comfort seats as a no-cost option. But I love this kind of, I don't know, what do you call this? I'm sure Porsche has a name for this that I should have looked up before the video, but you have this very cool print or embossing here on the race text. I think that is fantastic. Dual moonroof setup. We will be leaving those open today. Those are nice and tinted, make the cabin feel just that much larger. All right. Have we covered all the basics on the Panamera? I think we have. This has a couple of important options. It has the thermally insulated glass, so it's quite quiet inside. And it also has rear axle steering, which does help maneuver this big boat around. Let's jump in, start it up, and go for a drive before we lose all of our lighting here today. Though, as you guys can probably tell at this point, hold on. This is my favorite time of day to record videos. I love golden hour. I love when there's a little bit less traffic on the road. It's when I'm in my happy place. Anyway, start stop button on the left-hand side, of course, and no longer the little switch, which it doesn't really bother me in the Panamera, to be so for real. Otherwise, in this interior, we have some updates. Porsche has retained some of their physical buttons, but they have added just excessive amounts of piano black in here. And when you actually get some light on this, which actually this lighting is doing this interior a favor right now, you can't see the hideous nature of the scratches on this piano black. Now, this is a bit of an extreme example because this is a press car, so it's always going to get wiped down in between loans and things, and microfibers, you know, they can be contaminated. So this piano black has seen better days, but just the fact that it has so much in such a high touch area, as I've been trying to get that cubby open, it's really not a good look. We do still have a volume knob. You know, climate controls, these really nice clicks on these things, but it's really, really not attractive when you actually use the car. And that's kind of what this is meant for, right? It's a Panamera, it should be a daily driver. However, the biggest irritant by a mile in this interior are the vents, because you can't control them. You cannot control them. You have to go into the infotainment, you have to click climate, and then you have to aim these. This is just the most miserable thing. Like, what is wrong with just putting a vent tab and letting me aim this air on myself? And this is really not even one of those things that you can argue that you set and forget, because things change. You have different passengers in the car that want vents pointed in different directions. And think about how awkward that is if you have a passenger in the car and they want to change where their vent is pointing, and they have to like interrupt the navigation or the music or something to go into the screen. It's just, this is so preposterous. This is, I think, the most ridiculous thing that you could put on a car ever. Tesla started it, and I really wish that they wouldn't have. Anyway, otherwise, the infotainment seems to work fine. We've got wireless, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. Have had no issues with that this week. I do want to show you guys what this spoiler looks like. You can see it in the rearview mirror there, folding out of the trunk. Perhaps the most excellent piece of this entire Panamera. Oh my goodness, check that out. It's like a transformer in the back. It looks like a robot when the spoiler is deployed. I do love it, and what I love the most actually is kind of watching it deploy, because it feels special. When you reach speeds of over 60 miles an hour, the spoiler will deploy automatically. You have to hold this down for it to go back, just to confirm that. There we go. The spoiler has been retracted. Thank you so much. Other choices in here to toggle with things, but obviously drive modes live here on the steering wheel: normal, sport, and sport plus. That is all the same. I mean, this is all pretty basic Porsche stuff. I don't want to bore you guys with going through all of this, so we shan't. But, I mean, sport chrono, whatever. Okay, let's just go drive it. Okay, actually, I lied. I want to talk about one more thing before we go drive it, and that is places to put things, which is important in a car like this. Center console, pretty decent. I've got my sunglasses and my phone. 2 cup holders here, no kind of pass-through underneath this big, very raised kind of dashboard setup here. And then we do have some room in these door panel pockets as well. I think overall design in this interior, Porsche has done a good job, besides the vents, which you guys know I hate. But I do like the leather here on the dash. The stitching, steering wheel is gorgeous, also finished in race tex, and driving position and everything does feel quite good. So anyway, let's use our dashboard mounted bronze shaver, little shifter here, to put the Panamera into reverse, where you can see a quite nice 360 camera. Lots of detail on those donut marks in my beloved parking lot. Reversing camera is nice as well. Into drive, that front-facing camera pops up, and we are good to go. Give you guys some Sport Contact 7 ASMR. I guess these tires don't really fling stones the way some other stickier tires do. Anyway, though, first thing I noticed pulling this out of the Topher's driveway a couple of days ago is how light the steering is. This is one of the lightest steering feels I have felt in a car in a while, and I love it, because I've kind of had to change my thought process on this Panamera this week. And the reason for that is because I read an article on Car and Driver, and they basically said that Porsche made this thing too harsh, which is just simply not the case, and we'll get more into that in a second. But I like the light steering, and I've been trying to think of this car as a cruiser, because it hasn't really wowed me in the way of handling that Porsches often do. It does still drive like a Porsche, but this is kind of giving me like the CLE 53 AMG effect, where I went in expecting like a rocket, a missile, something very precise, and it ended up just being a car that I like to cruise around in. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about this Panamera. I love the V8. I think it makes a good sound. The ride quality here is fantastic. Now, this doesn't have the Porsche Active Ride that we saw in the Taycan Turbo GT. You can get it in the Panamera, but you have to opt for the hybrid. The non-hybrid cars cannot have it spec'd on. So this just has the regular air suspension. PASM, as Porsche calls it, and I think it does a fantastic job. It's no Porsche Active Ride, but boy does it get the job done. Waste no time, straight into Sport Plus. Into the brakes. Hold this guy down, put you into manual mode. Love the way Porsche paddle shifters feel. Okay, let's put this into a corner. I'll leave it in third, I think. Now, what I said earlier wasn't to say that this thing can't handle, because it can, but it's almost 5,000 pounds and you can feel the weight. You just can. I mean, it feels heavy. What I love so much about the Porsche Taycan is that it kind of hides its weight, but granted, the Turbo GT has 1,000 horsepower. This has less than half of that. But the rest of it, the chassis and things, you do definitely feel the weight. Now, where you don't feel the weight is through the launch control, which we're going to show you right now. I'm going to put this back into drive. We're in Sport Plus. That's all you have to do. And then it's just a matter of full brake, full throttle, release brake, and you are off. And this thing, it hits hard. In a sense, feels like a manual transmission, all-wheel drive car just dumping the clutch at 5,000 RPM. I mean, it's essentially what this thing does. And it is, some cars, the launch, it feels very like self-preservation-y, like the car is trying to last a while. This just feels like attack, like just dump the clutch, get it done, and my goodness, is it quick. Let's do some windows down action. Don't get a ton of exhaust noise from this 4-liter V8. But you do get some really good induction noise. I really like listening to this inside the cabin. Oh, the downshifts. Suspension, even in Sport Plus, over some of these really, really harsh expansion joints, soaks everything up exactly how I want. Now, the only bit of harshness you get are from these wheels and tires, but it's a sports sedan. It's got 21-inch wheels and hard tires. It's just the way that it goes. But the suspension really does a fantastic job. I'm wondering which Panamera the person from Car and Driver was driving that wrote the review talking about how stiff it is, because it definitely wasn't this one. We also have PTV in this, the torque vectoring electronically controlled rear differential. That helps you rocket out of corners. Okay, let's switch this back into its normal mode. Put the PDK back into drive. And let's cruise in this, because as I said early on in the video and interrupted myself probably 2 or 3 times, that is what I like to do the most in this car. And I really like viewing this as just a big V8 cruiser. And that's okay. You guys, I've said it time and time again, not every car has to be in attack mode constantly, or quite literally in the case of the Taycan Turbo GT, which literally has an attack mode. But I'm okay with a car that can do this sort of thing, that can just sit in traffic and float down the highway and like be kind of soft. Like that's okay, especially in Michigan where our roads are dreadful. I like a car with an air suspension that can soak some things up. This is not bouncy. It's very competent. You can tell that a lot of engineering and numbers and math has gone into this suspension, and the engineers at Porsche have done a fantastic job with this entire setup. Might have to bust out the sport response here to merge onto the highway. Longest entrance ramp, and we're merging going 49. Let's see if there's anybody coming. Oh, there is nobody. That is an empty highway. I love sport response mode. Just push the middle of your drive mode selector, puts the car in its sportiest setting and the lowest gear possible. Makes it so you don't have to fiddle with the drive mode selector. The Germans do like to underrate their cars, and I think this is a good example of that. There is no way this only makes 493 horsepower. I refuse to believe it. Going down the highway, we have the noise insulated glass, which helps the NVH a bit. We do have some noise from these Continental Sport Contact 7s. I'll let the CX-5 go around the semi here. But, I mean, for the most part, I could talk very quietly in here. You guys can all still hear me. Transmission tuning seems to be pretty good. I think my hottest take is that I don't like the PDK as much as I like the ZF 8HP that most of these 4-liter powered cars get. I do still like this PDK, but I think for kind of the cruiser nature of this GTS, it would be complemented by the torque converter automatic. Transmission tuning is good, but I have had a couple weird shifts this week. Primarily the 2-3 change, where it just kind of feels like the clutch slips a little bit. Otherwise, though, it's been fine. Here at highway speeds, we are revved under 2,000 RPM. Over the last 156 miles, which is what the Topher and I have put on this car combined, we've been doing 14.8 mpg. Not the greatest figure, but for a 500 horsepower sport sedan, I don't know, I guess that still isn't very good. This has a Bose sound system, which we'll be testing out here shortly, but for $6,000 extra, Porsche will sell you a Burmester. And I say this every time I'm in a Porsche press car. When is the day going to come where I get to test a Burmester? I'm still waiting to do it. Because the Bose systems in these are usually pretty good, but man, I really would like to test out a Burmester someday. Just kind of being able to chill in 8th gear and just rumble around. It does kind of just feel like a big muscle car. Now, since I never drove the 1st or 2nd gen Panamera GTS, I can't really go off of any sort of comparison. The closest thing I have is word of mouth from the Topher that drove a 1st gen 2013 GTS, and he told me that it was basically a 4-door Audi R8, and this does not feel like a 4-door Audi R8. So I think the philosophy's changed a bit as the years have gone on, but oh well. I think ergonomically this car is great. I love this 18-way sport seat. You have tons of adjustment here. You can adjust your leg bolsters and like a million other things. 18 different things, I suppose. 18 different ways you can do things. And seating position is fantastic. Elbow comfiness is pretty good as well. Not the squishiest surfaces that I've ever felt, but they do the trick. Miata. Okay, they did actually make a pretty decent noise under the bridges there. We will leave the windows down for a sec. Ooh. Light to light, just for this one to be red. Let's go into just regular sport. Visibility out of this Panamera. Wow, that's like a brand new Explorer. It's already got a headlight out. Visibility out of this Panamera is pretty dang good. I was always kind of under the impression that this kind of low slung design meant that you probably couldn't see anything out the back, but I can see plenty of things, including the spoiler, which I really like. But even out of the sides, these mirrors are nice, adequate sizes, and you know, your blind spots, not very severe. They've got a really nice kind of open greenhouse here in this Panamera, and I am very happy with it. Put these windows back up. So from a daily driving standpoint, I mean, this car really checks all the boxes for me. It's easy to get in and out of, you know. The ride quality is fantastic. There are enough places to put things in here. The infotainment system, while irritating in some ways, it's easy to use in most. The seat's comfortable. The steering is very light and agile, and if you opt for the rear axle steer like this car has, it's very maneuverable, which we'll show you in the parking structure up here. It's got a pretty good sound system, which we're about to test out right now. It really does check a lot of boxes for me.
Told you to walk away. That was my first and last mistake. I blew without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost in the moment. All I want is for you to come back. Now I'm caught in the middle of life, and I need you to
Perhaps the best controls in this interior, both of the physical volume adjustments. Got this little slider on the left-hand side of the wheel, and then, as I showed you earlier, this big central-mounted volume knob. Now, this Bose system, I think, is pretty good, and the Porsche Boses are usually pretty good. But I say pretty good. I mean, I don't really think they're excellent. I think they leave a little bit to be desired, but I suppose that's why you would opt for the Burmester. I wanted to talk about the driving position one more time. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because of how low you can put this seat. Now, I'm usually the person that gets in a car and immediately lowers the seat as far as it can go, because I like to feel like I'm in a cockpit. I like to feel low down like I'm in a race car. This is the first car in a long time that I have not lowered the seat as far down as it can go. And I'm only about that far from how low it can go. But I honestly feel like I can sit lower in this than I can in a G80 M3 with a carbon bucket seat. But even with that being said, I mean, I can still see everything I need to see out of this as a 5'11" individual. We are totally fine. Do have auto stop start in this Panamera. that, I'm very sorry to say, you have to go into the infotainment to disable. And you have to do that every time you drive. So I've just been leaving it on because I can't be bothered to go in and turn it off. Porsche's been doing this for a while now. This is not new. One of my good friends has a 2020 Cayenne, and it's the same way. So, quality control on this car is better than it's been on other Porsche press cars that we've had over the last year or so, but just today I've actually noticed, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the driver's seat does squeak a little bit. Another Miata. Which is just so disappointing to me that every time we get a Porsche, it has at least one quality control issue. And for a company that's charging $168,000, or now $180,000 for this car, and you guys hear that squeak? You guys hear that seat creaking? Okay, I don't know what that van is doing. It just seems kind of unacceptable, in my opinion. I would be unhappy if I bought this and spent that much money and I had to deal with quality control stuff. Like, Porsche is known for having good quality, and it's just like the last couple that we've had, there's just been like some weird stuff. As I try not to crash into the wall.
From the screen menu. Welcome. Please proceed into the lot.
Thank you, sir. Otherwise, though, it has seemed to have been okay. We're going to do windows, and we're going to do sport exhaust. Steering is so quick. I mean, it's just rapid steering, and I do love it because even in Sport Plus, really make much noise. Even in Sport Plus, it's not that heavy. Let's switch it back into normal. It'll lighten up even more. I also have multicolored ambient lighting in this Panamera. I've got it set to red because the outside of the car is red. I feel like that's fitting. But anyway, all right, let's sum this one up because this has been one, it's been a little bit difficult for me just because I really don't have anything to go off of because I'm not experienced with Panameras. So I've just kind of had to base it off of other Porsches that I've driven. And in a way, I do like it a lot because I like the cruiser aspect, as I've said a couple of times, and just the ease of use of this is nice. Now, the fact that it wears a GTS badge may be a bit confusing for some because other GTS badged Porsches do feel a little bit more hardcore than this Panamera. But I suppose it's okay for the hardcoreness to vary from model to model. So, I mean, this car doesn't really do anything offensive. I think it doesn't always have to be about lap times, and I still enjoy driving this. I like the rumbly V8, even though it doesn't really make a whole lot of noise out the back. There are things in here that are unacceptable, like the air vents and the driver's seat that squeaks. But for the most part, I think Porsche's made a pretty nice car. Let's park this up. Let's put this into park. That will automatically apply our parking brake, and we'll switch this off with the left side ignition. So, curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this car, because I quite like it, but at the same time, you know, there are some things that I don't know if they totally add up for a Porsche GTS product. But that'll wrap it up for us today. It's been quite a good commuter. I've done this whole trip in comfort, and I got to watch a really cool active aero spoiler rise out of the back. So I am quite happy, and I suppose that will wrap this one up. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. If I have time at the end of the video, I'm going to add this in as well. When I was filming the winding road video, I was taking an entrance ramp onto a highway at quite a brisk speed, at which we didn't really get to in this video, and the car secreted something from under the hood, and you can see evidence of that. It's all over the fender, all over the roof, all the way back to here, and I don't know what it is. I suspect washer fluid or just maybe some moisture that's stuck in the hood, but I'll put in a clip of that right now because it's hilarious. It's almost like the car gets excited when you push it to the limit. Okay, that's the actual end of the video now. Thank you guys. Take care.